Hello students, get your papers ready. Here's how your columns should look. On the one side you have what I've learned, which is the name of this channel here. See that? And the other one is Happy Healthy Vegan. We're going to be listening to the speech by Happy Healthy Vegan, and we're going to be learning also what I've learned is saying. And we're going to be taking notes. Remember, you put an X if something's not okay, and you put a check mark if something that they say is good. So we're going to look here at this site. First of all, it says what I've learned. It looks like a pretty interesting site, 1.7 million followers. But you know, there's a lot of stuff here about bacon and meat, and one can't help but wonder if maybe these are sponsored by the meat, dairy, and egg industries. And so when that's the case, we can't really trust anything that they say, because basically these industries give them money and say, psst, hey, talk about how great we are. Talk about how much people should buy our stuff. We don't give a fuck about the animals. All we care about is money. So you see here at That Vegan Teachers School, we're teaching this message. This is our main message. Why love one but eat the other? That's what we care about. And over here with Happy Healthy Vegan, we also have, let's have a look here. Oh, that's not it here. Here's his channel here. What I've learned, worst vegan debunking ever. Okay, so he only has 215,000 subscribers. So he has like quite a lot less than the other channel, which means whatever he is showing, people aren't going to be seeing as much versus the other channel, which a lot of people are going to be seeing. So we want the right message to get out there, right? So let's get our pages ready. What I've learned, Happy Healthy Vegan, and let's get ready to grade this performance.
Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So a couple of our viewers wrote to us to let us know that they wanted me to check out this latest video from this channel called What I've Learned. I believe I responded to him a few years ago for making a video kind of like this. Anyway, in this new video of his, he says that these claims that you hear in the media about how eating meat is really bad for our planet, it's bad for greenhouse gas emissions, it's bad for wasting precious water resources. Anyway, he's saying that this information is just vegan propaganda that somehow the mainstream media has picked up on. Yeah, the mainstream media is repeating our weird made-up lies and talking points, when in fact the reverse is true. He's saying that eating meat is great for our planet and doesn't waste water and all this stuff. I have to say, this video of his, I only got through like the first 3 minutes. It's like 12 or 15 minutes long. I didn't even see anything past that because these first 3 minutes are just so riddled with problems, misinformation. I had to stop there. So anyway, let's jump right in.
What's the environmental impact of not eating meat? Veganism is on the rise, but getting 100% of Americans to go plant-based is unrealistic. So let's...
Why? Gonna give him an X for that. What I've learned. I don't know if it's a man or woman on this channel. Sounds like a man's voice, so I'm gonna assume. So I'm gonna put an X here. He says it's unrealistic to get more than 10%. Absolutely not true. All we need to do is educate people, teach them to open up their hearts and change their minds. Anybody can be vegan. Whether you're a small child, a teenager, an adult, older, grandparent, pregnant mother, lactating mother. So much science has taught us that being vegan is super healthy. So if we just need to educate people, then why can't we have 100% of the society? Why not? Being vegan is about doing the best that you can. That's all.
Let's be optimistic and say we got 10% of the United States to stop eating meat. What would be the actual reduction of the United States planet-warming greenhouse gases if 33 million people went totally plant-based?
I really doubt this guy has the skills to make such a complex calculation, so let's see how he pulled these numbers out.
To discuss this, I'm joined here with Professor of Animal Science and Air Quality Specialist at UC Davis, Dr. Frank Mitloehner.
Alright, so fair enough. He enlisted the help of this expert, Professor Mitloehner, so I went to the UC Davis website to see what he's all about, to see if he's an environmental ecologist or something like that. No, he works in the department.
Okay, so first thing I want to do about Happy Healthy Vegan, whose name seems to be Ryan. What Ryan has done is he's looked at the actual study, so we'll give him a check mark for that. It's excellent, Ryan. Because, you know, even though we might suspect that somebody is working for the meat, dairy, and egg industries, we can't say for sure, so we have to look at the study and judge that on its own merit.
Department of Animal Science. And I'm not going to hold that against him, but I'm going to look at his educational background. His undergraduate work was in Germany in animal science, PhD, Texas in animal science, and he's received funding from the animal agriculture businesses such as...
Ooh. What I've learned gets an X for that. When you're doing studies, you can't be getting money from a business that is promoting cruelty. That's not good.
The Pork Board and the National Cattlemen's Beef.
Oh no, another one. So bad. Imagine, they got $25,000 from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association.
Association. Yeah, of course, nice move here, what I've learned. In order to prove your point that eating animals is not bad at all for the environment, you found a professor who receives money from the pork board and beef industries. Good job. Anyway, I'm not going to hold that against Professor Mitland for...
I like what he just said. He's not going to hold it against him. He's going to keep going, trying to look at this with an open mind. Good job, Ryan. Gets another check mark.
Now, who knows, maybe he receives money from these industries, yet he's still able to remain partial and unbiased. Let's judge him by his words.
That if the entirety of the US was to go vegan for a year, then the reduction in emissions would be like...
the entire US going vegan would be 2.6%. So if everybody were to do 2.6, if 1/10 of that would do it, then it would be 0.26. That's not even measurable, okay? We are talking about changes here that are not even measurable.
So
what he failed to measure is how much less suffering would happen. So what I've learned, I'm going to give you an X for that. We cannot just talk about money. We cannot just talk about the environment. We must talk about the animals all the time. In our presentations, it is so important that we think about the billions of animals who are stuck behind bars. This isn't just about us. We don't live just in a little eco chamber. We live among all of these other species, and we need to be able to live with them. They are not here for us. We're here with them as companions. We cannot keep breeding them into these facilities and putting them in tight, confined spaces, so much so that some of them can't even turn around. We cannot keep contributing to these industries that take baby boy chicks and put them in blenders at birth and turn them on and murder them just because they're boys and won't be able to lay eggs. We cannot keep contributing to these industries that pay for mother cows to be milked and used as machines, to have her baby boys taken away and murdered and turned into veal. We must talk about the entire system, not just the part that you want to talk about, not just the part that affects humans.
So according to this meat industry expert, if 10% of Americans were to go fully vegan, there would be a mere 0.26% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. As he said, basically immeasurable. And I don't know if you noticed, though, in the bottom right corner, they referred to the study, which I presume that this professor is getting this information from, this calculation from. So let's have a look at it because it's quite revealing. So first of all, I want to point out that both of the study's authors have affiliations with the, once again, meat and dairy industries.
Oh, not again. Thank you for pointing that out. Happy Healthy Vegan. And another X to the channel called What I've Learned.
Like Professor Mitlerner. So once again, I'm holding an open mind that these authors are able to maintain a non-biased point of view, not in favor of their funders and affiliations here. But no, if we look at some of the wording from the study here, you'll see that they're clearly biased against people who eat only plants. For instance, it said plant-only diet systems had greater access to dietary energy, which sounds like we're getting too many calories and becoming obese eating all these plants, and resulted in a greater number of deficiencies in essential nutrients. And that plant-based rations were associated with greater deficiencies in calcium, protein, vitamin A, and vitamin D. So hopefully you're laughing a little bit like I am. There's this meat industry-funded study here, which...
Ryan, thank you for pointing all these things out. I'm giving you another check mark. I'm glad that you can laugh about it. It's kind of sad because there are so many millions of people who are getting uneducated and they keep contributing to this terrible suffering. It's really awful.
says that vegans are at this higher risk of being deficient in protein. Like, what is this, like 1995 or the Joe Rogan Experience? I mean, this is just a complete myth. I mean, have you ever met a vegan that was deficient in protein? I know thousands of vegans. I'm still waiting to meet my first one.
Exactly. Good point. I have yet also to meet one single vegan who has ever been lacking in protein. Not one. In fact, when I used to work at the hospital as a nurse, there was no wing of the hospital that said protein deficiency department. It just didn't exist. People are okay. We're not dropping dead. The vegans are doing fine. As long as you eat a healthy, well-balanced diet, you will thrive.
Myself, I put my blood tests up maybe 5 or 6 times over the past 8 years, never been deficient in protein or calcium.
Okay, Ryan, you have actually put your blood tests up. That's excellent. I'm going to give you a check mark for that. That means you're not afraid. That means you're not hiding anything. What is the meat, dairy, and egg industry? What about them? What are they hiding?
Any of these nutrients that they're mentioning here that they say vegans are going to be low in. And if you want to see what an actual medical association says, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the largest group of health professionals in the world, they have an official position paper. And I cite this all the time because it's based on over 100 scientific references. They just didn't make this up out of thin air. And they say very clearly that appropriately planned vegan diets are nutritionally adequate and healthy for all people in all phases of life. So anyway, this is the meat industry funded study that our meat industry funded professor, Professor Mittlerner, is relying upon to claim that there would be essentially no measurable difference of 10% of the United States population were to go vegan. Well, of course, that's not a surprising conclusion to find, considering the sources of funding, which are a little bit biased and not objective. So to see what a non-meat industry funded study says into this very same topic, let's look at this study from 2020 from University of Michigan's Center for Sustainable Systems. And they say that replacing 50% of all animal-based foods with plant-based alternatives leads to a 224 million metric tons less emissions per year in 2030, a reduction equivalent to the annual emissions of over 47 million of today's average passenger vehicles.
That's not even measurable, okay?
Yeah, it's measurable. Thank you, Ryan. That's an X for what I've learned.
We are talking about changes here that are not even measurable.
Well, isn't it quite funny when you have a non-meat industry funded study looking at this very same topic, they find a very measurable difference. How
could the reduction be so low?
Well, because your study sucked.
Well, there's a lot we have to break down.
Thank you, Ryan.
Let's start here. Do cows really take all our water?
So the water input that people assign to beef includes, and that's the majority, the so-called green water.
Green water, I mean, what a buzzword that sounds like. Green water sounds so eco-friendly, and thank goodness cows are drinking green water. Let's see what this mysterious green water really is.
And the green water is rainwater. That rainwater would fall on that land where the animals graze, with cattle present and without cattle present.
All right, so I'm going to talk more about cows drinking rainwater in a second, and how that really doesn't mean anything as far as it being really green or good for the environment. But once again, they referred to a study at the bottom of the screen. And once again, let's have a look at this, because this study actually goes against, it like weakens this professor's argument. It says right here that per ton of product, animal products generally have a larger water footprint than crop products. The same is true when we look at the water footprint per calorie. The average water footprint per calorie for beef is 20 times larger than for cereals and starchy.
20 times. Thank you, Ryan, for pointing that out. What I've learned gets an X because he did not point that out. Need to look at all of the science.
Foods. But it gets even worse than that here for our meat industry funded professor. This non-meat industry funded study says that from a freshwater resource perspective, it is more efficient to obtain calories, protein, and fat through crop products than animal products. So I think this professor shot himself in the foot here by referring to this study. It clearly says if you're looking at a water efficiency perspective, no matter if you're looking at protein or fat or calories, plant-based products are on an order of magnitude or more water efficient than animal products.
And the green water is rainwater. That rainwater would fall on that land where the animals graze.
So I read through the study more to see why this concept of green water is brought up. It's to distinguish green water from blue water. Blue water is water that's obtained from groundwater like aquifers and lakes. Green water is water that's obtained through rainfall. So trying to understand what this professor is saying here, he's so proud of the water used for animal agriculture because the water came from rainwater rather than from reservoirs or aquifers. Like, how does that make it any better? There's still a boat ton of water needed to produce a pound of beef.
Just 1/4 pound hamburger takes around 1,650 liters of water to produce.
So, but these people who come up with the statistics of these enormous amounts of water going to beef, they're counting rainwater. They're counting green water. And that's just not right.
Still not sure why that's not right. I mean, is he trying to assert that all the animal agriculture water comes from rainfall falling directly on the crops? Because I know for a fact, at least here in California, that's not true. Where our animal agriculture products are grown in the Central Valley here, it's a pretty dry area. Yes, they're using rainwater, irrigated rainwater. I don't see why he's trying to say if the water used is rainwater, hey, it's cool, we don't have to worry about that, even though it's a lot of water.
Now, the vast majority of water that goes into a beef animal will go into the beef animal in the form of feed, not in the form of water that they drink, in the form of feed.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of water to produce that feed. Only 5% of the water in the United States goes to residential homes, while over half goes to animal agriculture to produce this feed.
Thanks for pointing that out, Ryan. Excellent. Absolutely. So important for people to know.
And guess what happens to that water a few hours after it's ingested? It's urinated out. It's not staying in the animal. It stays in the animal as long as the tea that you drank this morning stayed into your body.
So what is he getting at here? Is he saying if a cow pees onto the ground, and that doesn't really happen when they're in slaughterhouses and factory farming, but when a cow's outdoors and pees into the ground, that urination becomes water once again? Am I missing something? Because if you know more about this topic, please comment down below. I tried my best. I tried all sorts of searches to find some kind of geological or natural environmental process that recycles urine into water, and I couldn't find anything other than technological processes, new technological processes that convert urine into water and electricity and other things.
So to me, it is disingenuous to say, oh, look at all that water that goes into growing cattle. Would we say the same thing about all the water that goes to trees to grow?
So now he's playing the victim. He's saying that his animal agriculture industry is being unfairly called out for using these enormous quantities of water, but this water is not bad because it comes from the rain. And I'll show you here, this is a ridiculous argument. It's disingenuous. That was his word. If anyone's being disingenuous, it's him. Because water here in California comes from a very finite amount of sources. We're a very drought-ridden state. Water comes from rainwater, which typically doesn't come from rain. It comes from high Sierra snowpack, which melts and it gets funneled into our aqueduct system. And water can also come from reservoirs or underground aquifers. So it doesn't really matter. Water is a precious resource here, and no matter where it comes from, it's a finite, precious resource. And what this professor is not revealing in this interview to what I've learned is exactly how much water is used here in California for animal agriculture. Look no further than this graph produced by another professor from his very same university, UC Davis, and you'll see the vast majority of water use in California goes to alfalfa and forages for animal agriculture.
But think about this. 94.5% of Californian almonds' water usage is not green water.
Oh yeah, if you heard that almonds are sucking up all of California's water, it's a blip on the radar right here. Basically, I don't see how this professor can sit here with a straight face in California, knowing that we're in the middle of a mega drought, our reservoir levels are really low, the snowpack this year is one of the lowest on record, and say, hey, no big deal, cows get their water from rainfall. Well, we didn't get that much this year, and we haven't been getting a lot in past years, so it just blows my mind, this complete nonsense coming from a professor trying to justify animal agriculture here in California in the middle of a drought, saying, no big deal, we got tons of rainwater. I mean, anyway, let me know, guys. I checked his video.
Another thing is that nobody here is talking about the animals, which is the main important thing. Regardless of what's going on in the environment, although it is also important, our main focus should be on the innocent victims. If we had thousands and thousands and millions of children in captivity, which is essentially what animals are, they have the same intellectual capacity, we would never put up with it. We would never be arguing about statistics, about the environment, about this amount of water and that amount of water. We would be going straight to the victims and looking at them in the eyes and saying, let me help you. Come. We would be opening up the cages. We would be liberating the animals. That should be our main focus as vegans. Always talk about the animals. So I want to thank you, Ryan, for your presentation here. Happy Healthy Vegan. You got a lot of check marks. Very good. What I've learned, got a bunch of X's. So the clear winner here is Happy Healthy Vegan. And what I encourage in the future is that we talk about the animals more from both sides, everyone. Why love one but eat the other? Why? Why would we not think about the victims? Imagine that you were to be the one in this body, born into this body of this innocent pig. How would you feel if you were murdered at 6 months old and turned into bacon, ham, or sausage? It's just wrong. It is wrong on every level because we can eat plants. Plants don't hurt anybody. Plants are recyclable and they don't cause any pollution, and that is what we should be focusing on. For those of you who say things like plants have feelings, I want to invite you to think about you running into a burning building. Would you go there first to save your cucumber or your cat? You all know that plants don't have feelings and that animals do, and we need to think about them, how their heart feels. We need to give them a right to life. We need to allow them their freedom to roam outside, to smell the grass, to feel the sun, to feel the sky, all of it. The wind blowing on them, every single freedom, basic freedoms. Animals don't have anything except their lives. And what do? We betray them and we take it from them. It's absolutely wrong. So, thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you very much, Happy Healthy Vegan, for looking at that video and talking about it. It would be great to hear part 2 at some point in the future. Everybody who's not yet following this channel, Happy Healthy Vegan, I invite you to do so. And if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel here, also do so. Subscribe here. We will be looking at all kinds of different people. We will be debunking the meat, dairy, and egg industries, and we'll be looking at amazing vegan animal rights activists. As usual, don't forget to give yourself a hug. The reason you give yourself a hug every day is because people come and go in your life, and you are the consistent one who will always be there. So hands up, give yourself a big hug, a big squeeze, and take care of yourself. Eat healthy veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Put them in your shopping cart, because peace begins on your plate. So open up your heart. Be kind, be vegan, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, before I forget, coming up on the screen will be some other videos. If you haven't yet checked them out, do so. Be curious. Click on one of them and see what else you've been missing. I'll see you later. Bye for now. Do 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 do.